Hi world, welcome to my first content pitch. These are meant to take readings from my graduate courses and apply them into real life. And we're going to start off today with my first pitch. Today we're talking about a reading titled The Need for Research in the Quarterly Journal of Speech. This was written in 1915 by Winans, is I believe how you pronounce it. This first pitch I chose because I wanted to prelude the following four pitches based on this first one. It's the oldest, being written at 1915, and I think we do have a lot to talk about. So let's get it going. In this article, Winans tackles the question, why do we research? His argument, which I'll bring up a little bit later, will come up. But when I first read it, I thought it was inspirational about research. I thought research was tedious, but I now understand the purpose of it. I understand the importance of it, and that's my first point. Research is important. I know it, you know it, Winans knows it. Research is the catalyst to further progression in the field, whatever field it may be. Every field has some form of research, whether it be conducting experiments or ethnographies, or maybe even doing some benchmarking. Every field has research, and they use this research in order to progress into further knowledge about this field. Research delves into pre-existing phenomena, and it explains these phenomena so that we can understand it, get closer to what it means to know true knowledge. That much is true. In this, I bring up the magic bullet theory. This is the first theory that was one of the earlier within the communication field. This theory talks about the fact that media has absolute power over the populace. Media influences the populace, and that was as far as the theory goes. Well, this is my first point. Research gets the ball rolling into developing theories. It gets the ball rolling into asking further questions and doing further experiments and further research. This magic bullet theory, explaining that media has absolute power, was then edited or revised to create the two-step flow of communication. This was a follow-up on the previous theory, saying that not only does the media influence the populace, but the populace has the power to influence the media in choosing what they would like to listen to. There's this two flow of communication now instead of just the media, but also the population. So that's my first point. Research is important into getting the ball rolling, into getting the theory started and asking more questions. My second point is where I think I'd like to spend the most time on. In this argument, Winans argues, or he states, that research needs to be done in order to make us orthodox. The field of communication is fairly new, and in order to make us accepted into the scholarly world, we need to do research. This is where I think my issue lies with. And my counter-argument has to do with other fields that have been created not out of research, but because of demand for these fields. Let's look at some of our fairly new ones. Women's studies is a fairly new field that arose from when women became more into the population. And so having women in the workplace, paying more attention to the significant needs of women that are now emerging from our recent generation. So that's one thing that has come up. Another thing that I did not mention below was design. I was a design student, and so I know that design arose from the need to communicate. Communication led to visual communication, and visual communication is design. The first design school did not emerge out of research, but it emerged out of the need and the abilities for people to create dwelling spaces. And so this Bauhaus, the school that's in Germany, was the very first pioneer into the scholarly field of design. It wasn't created from research. But the Bauhaus itself, that first scholarly step, was created not because of research, and it was accepted everywhere. When I took my courses, we studied the Bauhaus as well. So that's something for you to know, is that research is not needed in order to be accepted into the scholarly world. My third and my most important one is the field that I'm most interested in, which is student affairs. Student affairs rose from the need for an increasing demand for extracurricular development. So that the fact that development does not only occur from our classes, but it occurs outside of classes, outside of our curriculum, and into the residence life that we're involved in, into our organizations, our student organizations, or the different groups that we identify with. So this is where my argument lies. Fields do not need research in order to be accepted. We need demand in order to be accepted. And this is where I find the flaw in Winans' argument, that research is needed to make us orthodox. I believe that we should be orthodox if there is a demand for it, if there's an obvious need for it. And my final point, my third point here, is that additional research is the product of research. Research will not quiet our minds, but lead to more questions, more investigation. And with this, I brought up below the Bobo doll experiment, which was fundamental into the creation of the social learning theory, in that monkey see, monkey do. Basically, if a child sees something on TV, they're going to reenact it. Well, this was really great and did a lot of wonders for communication. And this had to do a lot with the magic bullet theory. But at the same time, it arose many questions, such as, can the same be said in all stages of development, such as a child who is 3 years old versus a child who is 5 years old, or 7, or 9? Or how can people learn new information without demonstrating new behaviors? People learn all the time, but it's not necessarily from the media or from behavior. And other questions, including what role does motivation have on their behavior? What role does their environment have on their behavior? All of these contribute to the fact that research is not an end goal. Research is not something that you do just to do it, to be orthodox. Research is something that you do to create new questions, to investigate, to bring us closer to understanding phenomenon. And this is where my first pitch comes from, is understanding that phenomenon. This is why we need research. We need research because it will allow us to understand things that we might not yet understand, and then apply it and be effective. So in conclusion, this reading was very archaic. It was written in 1915 by a man for men. So while I do believe it was archaic, I do firmly think that Winans' argument that research will get the ball rolling into asking further questions is important and necessary in getting the ball rolling. So there you go. That's my first pitch. I will let you know what the next pitch is coming soon. So I hope you've enjoyed this, and I highly encourage you to think about how research has developed in your field, and how research can be used to not only further your investigation, but then understand how you can apply these theories and apply your findings into the real world. So, thank you for listening. Have a good day.